You know that feeling of being constantly overwhelmed? It seems like it's just the price of admission for modern life. But what if the answer isn't some new productivity app, but an idea that's been around for thousands of years? Well, a new best-selling book is making that exact case, and we're going to break down its argument for you. So, the book is Stop in the Name of God by Charlie Kirk. In this explainer, we're going to dive right into its central argument, which is this. The author believes that rediscovering the ancient practice of the Sabbath is the key to totally transforming your life. We'll look at the problem he sees in our world today and the solution he's offering. So this really is the core question, isn't it? In a world that is literally on 24/7, could the real answer to all our stress and anxiety be found in a spiritual tradition from ages ago? Let's dig into the case the author makes, and we'll start with how he diagnoses the problem. Okay, so before we can even get to the solution, we've got to understand the problem as the book lays it out. The author argues that we are all living in what he calls a world of noise, just a constant, nonstop barrage of information, notifications, and demands that are basically drowning out any chance at peace. First up, busyness. The book basically says our whole culture is obsessed with being busy. It's like we worship at the altar of constant activity. We're always rushing from one thing to the next, and this relentless pace, he argues, is a huge driver of our stress. And what's the engine behind this culture of busyness? Well, according to the book, it's our screens. No surprise there, right? The constant pings, the endless scrolling, it's not just distracting us. He says it's actively pulling us away from being present in our own lives and with the people right in front of us. And here's where it all comes together. The book draws a straight line from all that constant stimulation directly to the anxieties so many of us feel. The argument is simple. We just weren't built for this level of digital noise. It goes against our fundamental need for some peace and quiet. So, let's just recap the diagnosis here. According to the book, our screen-saturated, noisy world has basically created an environment where we accidentally end up rejecting the very things we need the most: real peace and genuine presence. And this is what sets the stage for the book's big solution. Okay, so we've got the problem. Now, what's the fix? Well, the book doesn't just offer a suggestion, it frames its solution as a full-on radical rebellion against all the pressures of modern life. And at the heart of this rebellion is the Sabbath. But, the book defines it in a really specific way. This isn't just about taking a day off. It's framed as an intentional, active rebellion against busyness. It's about creating a pathway back to genuine connection, peace, and presence. I think this phrase is so key, a radical act of resistance. Think about that for a second. In a world that demands you be available 24/7, the simple choice to disconnect becomes this incredibly powerful act of defiance. It's a way to take back control of your own time and your own mind. But this isn't just some big philosophical idea, right? The book actually lays out a practical framework for putting it into practice. So let's take a look at the process it recommends. The book outlines this simple 3-step path. First, and this is the big one, you gotta unplug. Intentionally disconnect from the screens and the noise that run our lives. Step 2 is to recharge. You use that newfound quiet time to actually restore your mental and spiritual batteries. And then the final step is to reconnect with your faith, with your family, and, just as important, with yourself. So what you're left with is this really clear choice between two different ways to live. On one side, you have a life of noise, full of screens, constant busyness, and that gnawing anxiety. And on the other, a life of presence, where you're unplugged, making real connections and finding balance. That contrast is the core of the transformation the book is talking about. All right, so if you actually do this, if you join this radical rebellion, what's the payoff? What are the real benefits? Well, the last part of the book really focuses on the personal transformation that it claims will happen. And the results it promises are pretty profound. The book claims that by honoring the Sabbath, you'll actually restore balance to your life. You'll feel that anxiety start to fade. And this is huge, you'll nurture your soul by giving it the quiet space it desperately needs to flourish. And that really brings us to the book's ultimate point. The Sabbath isn't some old-fashioned luxury, it's a lifeline. It's presented as this essential practice for cutting through all the chaos of modern life so we can get back to what truly matters. The link to this book is in the video description.